G'day and welcome to Daily Insights and Storytellings with me, Moon Willow. I'll start with housekeeping today. So if you haven't already, would you mind hitting that subscribe button? And if you're enjoying what I'm presenting or telling stories about, if you hit that thumbs up or thumbs down, I'd really appreciate it. And also if there's anyone else out there that you know might benefit from these different storytellings, don't hesitate to share it. The more energy that's coming into this site, the better, really. I'm really loving the energies, and it'd be nice to sort of grow our little group, really. It actually feels very much sort of the energies feels very comforting and quite warm, and almost like we are a part of a soul family. Just haven't quite worked that out yet. So yesterday I was talking about the full moon, and I was predicting that I wouldn't be able to see her, which I was going to be quite disappointed about. And then yesterday, couple of hours after I put the video up, there was huge winds here. It was blowing quite ferociously outside. Well, I say that, I mean everything stayed upright, so it obviously wasn't that bad, but it really cleared the cloud cover, and I had the most clearest of nights last night and had the most amazing view of the full moon, and a wonderful image of Orion underneath it. So was really honoured and blessed that that sort of came through for me. And it almost feels like within that wind sort of blowing, that it's sort of blown the residual cobwebs out, certainly through my energy field, that's for sure. So although I've been talking about for the past couple of days sort of being in that eye of the storm, and it's almost like I had a physical representation of that yesterday, that sort of within my home I was quite secure, and just the wind just blowing everywhere outside. And when I walked out last night, it felt so much clearer, and I could see a lot better sort of the night sky. So it has that sort of feel today as well, that the energies are continuing to shift, and although my sense still remains that it's going to be quite turbulent, the escalation and the movement towards the two dimensions, it does still feel quite turbulent, but it feels like we are able to sort of walk through that unscathed, as it were, and very much in regards to grounding and connecting into Gaia. I really feel that Gaia is a sentient being, and she's sort of a part of this process as well, and she would like to shift into a higher dimension. She's sort of been torn and battered mainly by us as humans over the centuries, and I always, if there's earthquakes, etc., I always have this sense that she's just getting really irritated by us and shaking us off the top of her skin, as it were. But it has that sort of real resonance for me, and it's sort of connecting with her in her higher self and supporting her, so that we can actually live in harmony, that we can live in harmony not just with each other but with everybody else and every other sentient being on this planet. And that includes sort of the plants and the trees, and as well as the four-leggeds and the feathered friends, etc. And the fishes. We've got to remember everybody in the seas as well. It's not just us, basically, but just sort of that real harmonious way of moving forward in my sort of belief structure anyway. So within that, we'll see what comes out from a crystal perspective and see which chakra would like to be heard today. Oh, so we've got rose quartz. So we're back in the heart, but from a softer perspective, and it's sort of that real rose light, and really connecting into how we love and our unconditional love as well. But it is also the recognition that it isn't just for ourselves and each other, but it's of human beings, but it's actually for all beings on this planet. And if we open up our minds to the possibility, it's all beings across the universe at the same time. So very much that really gentle warmth of our heart space, of that loving, nurturing aspect of ourselves. But as I've been saying in the past, it's very much about learning how to love and nurture ourselves first, before we can really do that externally. And just having that sort of awareness that there is the darker side as well, but we can sort of gently sift through that we don't have to be critical, we don't have to be negative or punishing ourselves within those aspects of our heart space, that we set things up to protect ourselves, and that doesn't always serve us well in the long run. So quite like the green aventurine, but it's sort of more inward looking, the rose quartz, really, and having that real sort of connection within ourselves, but a connection on a deeper level with Gaia, with the plants, etc., animals, everything, and just being open to our authentic self and our authentic heart, and raising that vibration, and just allowing other energies to come in so that we can continue to be nurtured. So within that, we'll see what the cards have to say as well. So if we focus on the cards, and split. Struggling to pick them up today. So we've got the ring, dog, and the sun. So we had the ring out a couple of days ago, I believe. So very much about partnership. So there's been sort of like for the past few months, and probably past few years, but I've noticed it more over the past few months, sort of claiming our sovereignty and sort of sitting within our free will, and just really being firm and secure in our authenticity and our authentic self. But that doesn't exclude other people. It's, as I was saying the other day, being in partnership with ourselves, so certainly with the rose quartz, being in partnership with our heart, that we can actually have that authenticity and sovereignty. But within that sovereignty is being able to reach out to other people and be in harmony and partnership with others. But it's not just human beings, it's being in partnership with nature, it's being in partnership and open honesty with the animals and the trees, etc. So really nurturing, as I say, nurturing ourselves and have that honest partnership within, so that we can have that honest partnership and dialogue with the people from on the outside as well. So just really really entering in to that loving space, and but it's not always soft. So it's also about defending our beliefs. And although I have been saying not to sort of react in a defensive manner, but it's actually really settling into our belief system and what we would like to bring in. So having that sort of partnership and connection with Gaia, with each other, and then really speaking that truth, but not in an aggressive way, but just in a very clear way. And the more clear we are with ourselves, the more clear we can be with other people, and really having that sort of partnership and understanding. So the next card is the dog. So very much about friendships and befriending. So again, it's about befriending ourselves, befriending our heart space, taking on all aspects. Unconditional love is taking on the good and the bad. Had a film reference going off in my head just then. It's the good, bad and the ugly. But it is that. There will be aspects of our personality and our thought traits and our behaviours that don't necessarily sit comfortably with us. But we're taught sort of quite early on that those aspects are something that we need to be ashamed of. And the more we're ashamed of things within ourselves, the more we notice it in other people. And we can end up becoming hyper aware and hypersensitive and hypercritical of others because we're not dealing with our own stuff. So it's very much within sort of the rose quartz and the ring and partnership and befriending ourselves is actually befriending the entirety of ourselves. And the more we're able to do that, the more that we can actually sit comfortably with other people in their own mess and their own truth as well. And not have that judgment, not have that criticalness, that the less critical we are of ourselves, the more understanding and aware of ourselves and have that partnership and friendship within ourselves, the more that can actually translate when we're in relationship with other people. And that also includes sort of Gaia and trees and four-leggeds and feathered friends and those in the oceans. It's across the board. It's not just one particular species. It's interspecies, inter sort of the earth, etc. So it is actually that real solid connection and partnership within ourselves, befriending all aspects of ourselves. So back, as I've been saying numerous times, that real integration of self. This is the ideal opportunity as the energies are lifting a little bit today, the light's really coming through, is actually continuing that work, that last residual of the work. And I think that's why the sun's sort of come up here. The sun is really a very lovely card. It just permeates and shows that no matter what the difficulties are, that everything is going to be all right. But within this as well, I think that the sun can be quite bright and we can get burnt by it. But it's actually using the really brightness of the energy that's coming in and just having a look at the last residuals of the shadows within, sort of making that friendship, making that partnership within of all aspects, the masculine, the feminine, the good, bad and the ugly, all of it, so that we don't get tripped up. That's the thing, and that's the key. Because as we do that internal work and we have more of an awareness of ourselves, we can actually be fully present when we're communicating with other people. And that will help to actually mitigate any sort of defensive responses, and we will have less triggers because we know. I'm not saying that we won't have triggers. We will probably always have triggers because we're human beings, but we have an awareness of why they turn up, and we don't end up getting lost in that trigger for too long, because we can sort of sense and sort of get an image of it a lot quicker. And taking those breaths, as I've always said, it's taking that step back and really breathing into it, really connecting into Gaia, really grounding, so that we can actually figure out and sift through what belongs to us and what belongs to other people. What is an old memory? What is an old reaction? How would we like to deal with it now? So it's really using the energy of the sun's rays to actually really have that final look within, and just having that real sense and understanding and awareness that we have got the power to be able to change that if we choose to. There's no forced and no you must, you shoulds, because that is just a perpetuation of what we've had in the past. But it gives us the opportunity to actually go within and look within and unlock the closed boxes and actually really have a look and a feel as to how we would like to progress, so we can continue that really deep loving connection that we can have with ourselves, that really unconditional love of knowing that those times and in those darker moments that we were doing the best we could. And it's really befriending that as aspects of ourselves, so that we can actually forgive ourselves and give ourselves that unconditional love, so that we can continue moving forward. So I'm hoping this is making sense to people. For all of that, I do feel that there are some days when we get up and we feel like we're sort of hitting our head against a brick wall sometimes, and it's that sense of going over and over the same thing. But it's not, if we look at it a different way, it's like another opportunity to actually just fully embrace ourselves in the beauty that we are, and really engage with what's going off in the world at the same time. So the more we're present with ourselves, the more we can be present in the universe at the same time. The more we have a depth of understanding of ourselves, the more we have a depth and understanding of what's going outside, and we can make more clear decisions and clear choices as to the way we want to progress. Do we want to continue ignoring the other aspects of the earth, or do we really want to connect into it? Do we want to bring harmony, or do we want to bring disharmony? It's really our choice at the end of the day. And I feel like at the moment we're really being given that choice. And the thing with the full moon is it tends to happen over 3 nights, although sort of it's at its fullest at one specific moment. The actual energy of the full moon goes for 3 nights as a minimum. Sometimes the energy sort of linger around a bit longer. So it really feels like with the wind that I experienced yesterday, there has been a real clearing of the veils. But it's like with the sun, that can be really glaring and sometimes too bright, so we can't necessarily see what we're looking at. That underneath a bright light, it's almost too much. The glare is too much to see, so we tend to shield our eyes and cover it over again. So I think that's part of what's going off at the moment as well, is that temptation to actually close off or close our eyes to what we're actually seeing. And it's almost like at the moment there is that invitation that the wind has now cleared the veils back, drawn the curtains back, and we've been given that invitation to have a clear look as to what's going off, so that we can be fully informed. So as we're doing the work within and shining the light and really witnessing what the darker aspects of ourselves, our shadow selves, and learning how to integrate that with love and forgiveness, something similar is actually happening on a sort of more energetic, on the external level. So the bright light is really in that full moon. She was so brilliant last night, and just I noticed how bright she actually was. It was like being out in the day. And it is really pulling back the veils, it's really pulling back the curtains at the moment, and just showing everything under this glaring light. And that can be difficult to see, and I have a feeling as we progress over the next couple of weeks, more and more things are going to come to light that a lot of people are really going to struggle over as taking on as being real or true. And within that, I invite you just to really sit in your heart space and have a feel, does that make sense? on an emotional, on an energetic level, because a lot of things that are going to come out or have been coming out create a cognitive dissonance, that our minds really can't absorb the information. And a lot of that is because we don't want to believe that it's true, that it doesn't make sense. Why would people want to cover up to such a level, such an extent? But unfortunately, people do. They want to have power over other people, and they want to actually just look out for themselves. And if you're empathic and you actually want to support other people, and most of the time to the damage and detriment to yourself, that it's hard to look into the psyche, into other people who are only looking out for themselves, and the atrocities that are actually done within that sort of realm as well. So my invitation to you is actually really sitting into your heart space, using and holding on to that soft energy of the rose quartz, but it's still a strong softness, and it'll protect by having that partnership with yourselves, finding those friendships, those soul families that can actually help support. So as the sun and the full moon shine brighter on the darker aspects that are going off in the world, it can actually not create that cognitive dissonance quite so strongly, or you become aware of it and really sit back within yourself in your authenticity, into your heart space, and really feel into, energetically, is this making sense? Is that something that I want to continue helping to perpetuate, or would I like to choose a different way of actually walking forward? So I hope this is making sense to people out there. So rose quartz, really that beautiful pale pink rose, opening the flower, really smelling, and just having that really strong softness of love, of unconditional love, and moving forward. So see what energy sound comes through today. I never really know what to call it. I just know that I'm called to do it, so that's why it gets added at this stage. Thank you ever so much, everyone, for joining me again today. I really appreciate it. If at any time you would, or you feel drawn to having an individual storytelling, I do provide those. Just log through to my website or any of the other mediums that I put in the bottom of the description box, and that will enable you to message me. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I hope that the sun shines brightly enough for you to feel warm and aware, but not too brightly that it burns you. And I really feel that within this space that we are developing a partnership and a friendship, and I really love that. So on that note, I'm really looking forward to seeing you all again tomorrow. In the meantime, love you all. Bye.